Alright guys, the moves are out, Obviously we have children here who are just in disbelief.
Sarah Jane Baker, who was leading this protest, was in prison for 30 years because he tortured a child.
I thought I'd show the Prime Minister my boobs.
How can these people follow him? It's got to be worse.
Have you ever heard of intersex bigot?
Do you want to say a few words about the counter-protesters? What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't mind going to bed with some of them, to be honest.
So many young people who care about this, but they can't be here because they're risking their degrees, they're risking their future careers.
We just want to live free, with dignity, with respect.
When he got up in front of a trans pride thing 2 years ago and said, if you see a TERF, punch them in the f***ing face, do you think he cared about those people's dignity or respect?
If I am indeed a woman, then me getting my boobs out today is illegal.
It is not offence for a man or woman to be topless in England and Wales, as long as a person has not taken off their clothes with the intention of shocking and upsetting others. Alright, so the next thing I have, we're going to watch Trans Rights Just Got Worse, Here's Why. Wesley Winter. In this video, we head to a trans rights protest over a month since the UK Supreme Court ruled the legal definition of women refers to biological sex. It's led to changes in everyday life for women. Has it really? I don't think it's changed much at all, but hey. However, caused outrage in the trans community. It's led to public action, it seems like more to come. We attend a topless trans protest outside Downing Street as activists demand trans rights. Counter-protests were expected. Join me, our good friend, Sarah Jane Baker, kidnapper, torturer, pretend woman, trans rights, human rights. I happen to know that that person is there. I saw a tweet of fucking Eli Ehrlich, another person who probably should be locked up for something or other. Was like sharing and congratulating these people. Me personally, I feel like it's just gonna pique people further. Anyway, let's see what's going on.
It's not about whether they're trans, it's because they are men.
I don't see why not, because trans people are not a danger to women.
This government has been so viciously
He always finds them, doesn't he? He always finds them. Gender terrorist. Yeah, you're really gonna get people on side wearing a t-shirt that says gender terrorist. When someone wears something like that, what are you actually in this for? Do you just have gender dysphoria and want to live your life as a woman? Or are you like, is this some kind of status thing for you, you know? Oh, look at me, I'm destroying gender. Like, okay, wow.
so viciously anti-trans, it's almost unbelievable.
If someone tells you, hi, my pronouns are they, them, you respect that. They think to have like huge prosthetic breasts, they think to wear this sort of bimboified clothing.
I thought I'd show the Prime Minister.
There he is. Sarah Jane Torturer Baker, disgusting human being. There we go. Trans rights, human rights. Kidnapped a teenage boy, tortured him for 24 hours, left him for dead. Thankfully, someone found him in time. Nasty human being. Don't know why we uplift people like this.
My boobs. What do we want?
And again, like, I thought I'd show the Prime Minister my boobs. It's like, what is this actually about for you?
When do we want them? No!
Alright guys, so we're here at a
That sounded feminine, didn't it?
Trans rights! When do we want them? No!
What do we want? Trans rights.
Alright guys, so we're here at a trans rights activist
He's got like a higher pitched voice than like the average one in the crowd.
protest. It's been a month since the UK Supreme Court decided what
Women are actually allowed to go topless, they choose not to. Is that true? Change a public decency law to allow women the exact same laws as men's nipples. Why was this rejected? It's not clear what this petition is asking the government or parliament to do. We understand you are concerned about public decency laws, however, it is not offence for a man or woman to be topless in England and Wales, as long as a person has not taken off their clothes with the intention of shocking and upsetting others. So the actual premise of the protest is kind of silly then. Wow.
what a woman is. Now the trans community isn't too happy about that and they've been campaigning.
Yeah, you do wonder. Someone who was convicted and imprisoned for kidnapping and torturing someone, who is now saying that they want women's prisons to allow males in there. You do wonder, like, what's going on. That protest was definitely to shock others. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't think they're as clever as they think they are.
And ever since, as you can see, we're just going past Trafalgar Square and you've got all these protesters who are making their way.
Yeah, it's interesting. Most women care about modesty, which is why they wouldn't really go around like that. But these people clearly don't so much.
To Downing Street. Let's see why they're here. Let's go. And during that time,
I have a question. The word women is defined as being female. If trans women believe they are women, aren't they using the word incorrectly? Yes, I think they are.
the laws started being enforced. Before, nurses would have risked losing their jobs for misgendering someone, and some even avoided changing rooms because
Yeah, there was a pedophile that was treated in a hospital for something or other. This African nurse refused to use she, her pronouns for them. She lost her job over it. It's nuts. Like, I don't know how many of these examples people need to see before they start realizing that there's kind of something not right. You know what I mean? But I know it'll keep happening. It'll keep happening until
trans women were there.
Until this shit is completely buried, because that's what they clearly want, you know?
In sports, trans women have been banned from women's football, netball.
Like, I'm basically on the position now that I think that this rights movement is a fucking psyop. I'm not 100% convinced. I'm not 100% convinced that Just Stop Oil wasn't some kind of psyop, like aimed at actually reducing, like getting restrictions put in place on protests because they're taking things too far. I'm not convinced these people aren't trying to make trans people as like pushed down as possible.
Pool and cricket. That's led to public actions like a toilet left out the Supreme Court and recently topless protests at the Scottish Parliament. I don't think
You like his hair? He reminds me of a Pidgeotto.
today's protests will be any different. Alright guys, we just made our way down to Downing Street, and just to the left, just in front of me, we have the counter protesters here. They've got a few signs that says defend women only sports, as you can see. Seems like this lad isn't too happy about it. Taking a quick picture of a few of them.
Taking that close-up pictures of them, what is that all about? That's a bit strange, no?
Picture of a few of them.
Like, literally to identify these people. Well, I mean, I already know who this person is. That's Connie Shaw.
Picture of a few of them.
I like this woman. They're all rent a protest is government funded. I mean, I don't have like evidence of that, so I don't like saying stuff like that as like a done deal. Like, that's what's going on, but it certainly comes across that way. It comes off like a psyop to me. Like, these people are trying to like peak as many people as possible. Like, maybe because they want like as much oppression as possible, they get off on that kind of status. Maybe for all kinds of other reasons, who knows?
Oh, he's swearing back at them. Very nice. As you've seen in many protests, it doesn't really matter, you know, if there's
Don't you think? Okay, it's a bit longer. It's a bit longer on Pidgeotto here. He's a well-trimmed Pidgeotto. What does she call him? She says, take your mask off, you wuss.
a lot of people, or a few people, doesn't mean you're...
The inference being he's taking pictures of their faces so he can identify them, but he's wearing a mask himself, you know?
You're in the right if there's many of you.
There's bloody 5 of you.
There's literally 5 of you. Yeah, well, for the most part, with this Supreme Court stuff, women aren't going out in the streets because they're happy with what's going on. They're just going about their day. Oh, okay, my rights have been codified again. Go about my day. So there's not going to be that many of them. There's kind of... And anyway, do we really like judge things based on who's more? Did this person vote for Brexit? Does this person think Brexit was a good idea because more people voted for Brexit than didn't? Like, basing it on numbers is not a very good metric in general.
Do you want to say a few words about the counter-protesters? What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't mind going to bed with some of them, to be honest.
Go to bed.
I mean, that's like deeply like sexist and offensive, but I mean, I almost respect the balls on this gentleman.
Lovely. So what, you're straight, you're into women or into men?
With some of them, to be honest.
Go to... Do you want to say a few words about the counter-protesters? What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't mind going to bed with some of them, to be honest.
Go to bed. Lovely. So what, you're straight, you're into women or into men, is that?
I don't know. I just want to get laid.
I almost respect, listen, it's like gross as fuck. And optically a fucking nightmare. But I respect like the Giga Chad energy, I gotta say.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
As long as he's not expecting anyone to look at him and earnestly think that this is a woman.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on these signs? There's women only sports, defend women's rights.
Touch some grass, you might like some trees.
So you think they should go to the other side, try some trees? Is that what they should do?
You shouldn't just, you know, touch some grass. That's people's problem these days, if you ask me. They'll even only transgender people.
Okay, so what about when they touch grass and then still think that trans women shouldn't be in women's sports, what then?
Believe in only transgender people? I bet not, you know. Everyone at work loves me.
I mean, you don't have to be attracted to them to get to know
Listen, they're quite witty, but, like, come on, bro. You're a psyop at this point.
them, though, eh? I mean, it's not all about, like, sex and that side of things, no?
So, sorry, what women's rights are you here about?
Biological women.
What?
We know what they are. Do you? Biological women?
Biological women is... So,
It's women, yeah.
so that's XX chromosomes, right?
Yeah, women.
There are men with XX chromosomes. Yeah, there are.
I'm actually trying to debate, bro, the women, like, counter-protesting. Well, actually, there's men that have XX chromosomes. A good job that's not the only metric you measure sex from, then.
Total androgen insensitivity syndrome. Have you ever heard of it?
Well, have you ever heard of intersex bigot?
What?
Total androgen insensitivity syndrome. It happens when you have somebody...
Do you think that the men
Oh,
dresses
sorry,
over there have that?
I've got that mixed up.
Yeah.
That's XY female.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are XX men.
Okay. There aren't. If you're not going to accept biology, then we're operating on a different...
Can you be a male and have XX? Was it De La Chapelle syndrome? I think it might be De La Chapelle he is referring to. XX karyotype develops a male phenotype. Yeah, because he fucked up. Androgen insensitivity syndrome would be XY female. Develops a male phenotype, triggers male reproductive development. Yeah, so you can develop as a male despite having XX chromosomes. It's extremely rare, about 1 in 20,000. It's not very many people. But all that really says is, well, that's why we kind of mostly base sex on your reproductive role, on your gametes that you would produce. So these things exist, that's fair enough, but it doesn't really say anything.
If you're not going to accept biology, then we're operating on a different psychological plane. I'm happy to engage with you, but like, I know what a woman is. I think you do as well. That's why you're so keen to stand here waving your flags and denying it.
Let's look that up, shall we?
Well, let's look that.
Oh, bloody, what's going on? Alright, guys, the moves are out. The moves are out. Oh, dear, oh dear, what is going on here? Oh, no, bloody hell.
Here he is. Sarah Jane, torturer, kidnapper, baker. Our hero, man of the hour. Why would anyone debate at a protest? I don't know. It's a very male-coded thing, isn't it? Well, debate me, bro. Debate me on what a woman is right now, bro. Like...
We have to do this.
They've got their...
We just want to live free, with dignity, with respect.
We just want to live with dignity and respect while standing in the street with your male tits hanging out. Okay, bro. I don't believe you. I don't think dignity has ever crossed your mind. You're stood so close to someone that was fucking banged up for torturing and kidnapping someone. And you want dignity and respect. Do you think this person has dignity and respect? Has respect for other people? Do you think he cares about people's dignity? Do you think he cared about people's dignity when he got up in front of a trans pride thing 2 years ago and said, if you see a TERF, punch them in the fucking face? Do you think he cared about those people's dignity or respect?
Free Palestine! Trans rights!
Free Palestine, trans rights, you've heard it all, guys.
So, we're going to have a party.
Oh,
We're going to have a party. One thing I want to do.
so, guys, as you can see to my right, the trans rights activists have got their tops off.
Yeah, surely it's legal. Well, I suppose YouTube probably doesn't want to see some moves. You're a wrong'un.
As you can see to the right, obviously we have children here who are just in disbelief. Imagine the first time probably seeing
Wait, what are these kids here for? Are they just visiting something else? I would hope that they're not being brought here to, like, watch the protest or something. I don't know this area. I'm not from London. I've been there a handful of times. Is it well known what that person did? Sarah Jane, whoever. I don't know if it's well known as it should be. Baker, age 20, her 18-year-old brother, his 18-year-old brother, 2 teenage male associates went to the stepmother's family residence in Thornton Heath, South London, where they found her brother. This person had nothing to do with whatever this problem was. They broke in armed with knives, kidnapped the step-uncle in a stolen van, and tortured him until he was released by police after almost 24 hours. Sentenced to 7 years imprisonment. And then he got a bunch of, like, time added to his sentence for, like, assaulting someone else in prison.
implants is from a trans person. Yeah, crazy.
We don't do it for drama. We don't do it for clicks. or to scare people. We do it to expose how vulnerable we feel as a community by the decisions made by Starmer.
Trans rights is human rights.
How do you feel at the minute they're kind of topless right now? Is that a good way to protest?
I believe so. I think it shows our vulnerability.
Shows our vulnerability. Mate, it shows that you're able to do that and not get in trouble for it. Is that vulnerability?
Ally, but I support trans.
Like, there used to be like discourse around whether women should breastfeed in public. None of you people have ever had to deal with that shit because there's been no functional reasons why you'd ever have to get your tits out. Because you can't breastfeed. Because none of you are nominally
Sorry, that's just anti-trans.
New to
so channel _carrot.
ILS. I'm not sure what currency that is. Thank you so much, Valeria Zarov, for the 6 ILS. Thank you.
Trans people, yeah. Because I'm a queer person.
I'm a queer person. Wow. Amazing, bro. Yeah. All this like controversy about like women getting their breasts out in public. There was a lot of it around like breastfeeding. They're literally like feeding their child and that's a problem. Do any of these people, have they ever had that problem? So they're even privileged in terms of like showing their tits. It's bizarre.
And they are queer people, they're part of my community. And if we all need to show our vulnerability together.
I just want to say, if you call me queer, then no, I can't say what my response would be.
Some people last time they spoke about women's toilets and women-only spaces. I think it's much broader than that. Some people argued about prisons and refuges for women. Do you think trans people should be allowed in those spaces?
I don't see why not, because trans people are not a danger to women.
There are trans people in jail for literally attacking women, assaulting women, attacking girls. Look up Katie Dolatovsky. So that person wasn't a risk to any women? Well, that wasn't even women they preyed on, it was girls. That's worse.
The larger majority of people that are a danger
What about Karen White?
to women are cisgendered men.
The only reason you get away with saying this is because there's an awful lot more cisgendered men, aka men, than trans women. Trans women are like overrepresented when it comes to how many of them are incarcerated for sex offenses. Most likely
that's just anti-trans.
Women.
I bet if the blur wasn't there, it would just be normal male chests. No way they have money for implants.
Thank you, Outsanity. To be fair, I think I've seen a less censored picture, and most of them have like HRT tits, you know?
And sadly, it seems to be some cisgendered women as well.
Yeah, you're just throwing so-called cis people under the bus. First off, cis doesn't really exist in the way you think it does, because it implies that everyone has the same mechanism of gender identity within them, which I just don't think is true. I know too many people who find it very alien to be convinced that trans and cis is even really a thing in the way they're saying. More to the point, like the sexual assault stats, they follow a male pattern and a female pattern. It's not about trans women versus cis men. It's about males versus females. Like, it's just, you're in denial if you think otherwise. Mr. Mano from another universe. He does look a bit like Mr. Mano. Like, there have been 2 different times where like stats have been published. So of the 245 transgender prisoners reported their legal gender as male, so trans women, as of March 2024, 151 were convicted of a sexual offense. That's like what? 60-something%? When you look at the figures for men, it's lower. There's more men because there's more men, but it's lower in terms of percentage. And for women, it's like astronomically smaller. And yeah, there was another one from like 2018, 2019, showed a similar pattern. I think it's unfair to say trans women are actually much more likely to commit a sexual offense. So I prefer to say it as, well, there's a male pattern, a female pattern, because that's actually more kind to the trans people. And to be fair as well, sexual assaults are like notoriously like hard to convict for. So the actual numbers are probably quite difficult to attain. So it sounds like there's a male pattern, a female pattern. This person is just wrong, unfortunately.
Well,
Alright guys, so yeah, standing outside, the kind of message was against Keir Starmer. So the move's out for Starmer. Hey buddy!
We're the ones that stand.
He's whacking on his bra. So yeah, Connie, I see you're counter-protesting. What's the reason for it?
Well, this march here is demanding that men have access to women's spaces, despite the fact that the highest court in our country has ruled that that is not, in fact, the law. And it has been the law that men are not permitted to go into women's spaces since 2010. We've come today, there's only 5 of us. We're all young people, we're all in our 20s. And we always get, TERFs always get accused of never having young people on side, that young people don't care about this. I can tell you there are so many young people who care about this, but they can't be here because they're risking their degrees, they're risking their future careers just by saying that.
This is true. The other thing is, you show up to a counter-protest to like trans stuff. You're outing yourself as like a TERF. I say the same thing, by the way, when people use these arguments about, oh, you can't out trans people, it's dangerous. They out themselves showing up to these protests. It's the same deal for like people who are gender critical, who might show up to one of these things. They can get in trouble for that shit. You can get in trouble for having certain views. Like, even if it's not official trouble, like, you know, getting kicked off a degree or something like that, it can be like social repercussions. Because we've implanted this powerful idea that to not be trans affirming in every way, shape or form makes you a bad person.
Women are female and that they should be able to have the right to single-sex spaces. I don't have much to lose anymore, but some of the people here do, and they're taking a big risk by being here, but there are so many other young women in particular who wish they could be here, but they're so scared that if they get seen saying that women...
And the other thing is, a lot of women are just going to feel, well, they don't need to. It's gone our way. It's unlikely to change. You know, have your day whacking your tits out in London, like we're enjoying our rights over here.
A female, that they will lose out on their future, lose friends, etc.
And the reason you don't care is because you were cancelled from your uni, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
Do you want to share about...
Yeah, so Connie Shaw here, or she's going to explain. Yeah, she's had her own like brush with exactly what I've just been talking about.
What happened?
I was removed from my committee position at Leeds Student Radio for my gender critical views. Yeah, so...
Gender critical student suspended from university radio after posting interview with detransitioner. I think there was another thing around her, like confronting a man going into a women's bathroom at a club or something.
It's something I believe in, you know, as Sal Grover says, it's very rare that you're 100% right about something, but we are 100% right about this. And I used to believe what they did, and then I read the evidence and I couldn't believe that
This is so common, by the way. Lots of gender criticals used to be gender affirming. You look at someone like King Critical, he used to be like a trans ally. I'm literally fucking trans myself. It's very common. It's when you start looking into it more, when you start listening to the crazier side of like trans rights activists. And bear in mind, this is our representation. Most of the normal trans people, they're like just trying to get on with their fucking lives and like have nothing to do with this shit. So these are the people that are loud. These are the people you hear from. They're all nuts.
I ever followed so blindly.
And that's, by the way, why I try and be as clear as I can. I'm not talking about all trans people. It's not about being transphobic. It's about having a problem with specific kinds of people, doing specific kinds of actions, putting out specific kinds of rhetoric, you know? Like, trans people at large, like, fucking do what you want, you know what I mean? I don't care. I'm trans myself. It would be hypocritical of me. You think this will end soon? I don't think it'll ever end, but I think it's currently, there's a bubble, you know what I mean? I think currently all this stuff is like popular, it's trendy on TikTok. That's not going to last forever. There's going to be a generation that will come along that will look at a lot of this queer shit that we've been doing and just see that as like boomer shit. That's like cringe. That's what like the old people do. So it'll come and go. Trans people will still be there because like gender dysphoria is a thing that people experience for lots of different reasons. But I think this is a bubble that is going to burst. I think you'll find a lot of trans positive people will start to see the crazies and the radicals. People that don't even actually transition, they can't actually support them any longer. Yeah, exactly. And it sucks. Like, it does have implications for wider trans people. And wider trans people are now having to, like, hear about fucking trans issues from people that aren't necessarily very sensitive about them all the fucking time now. I felt exactly the same way. I started resenting all this, like, trans visibility stuff. I was hearing about it constantly and seeing all kinds of opinions. Insane opinions from, like, other trans people that I just couldn't stand by. Insane opinions from, like, you know, genuinely actually transphobic people. It just hurts everyone. These people don't realize how much they're hurting their own people with this shit, and they need to.
Something that is just so ludicrous. I mean, we are as many...
Like, listen, if that gets me called a pick-me once in a while, if that gets me people calling me like a right-winger or whatever other shit, a transphobe, a fucking quisling or whatever. I'm fine with that. I don't give a fuck. I'm in a position where getting any job is like a crapshoot for me because I'm very mentally ill. I kind of don't really have a reputation to uphold because I never really had one. I'm a nobody musician who no one fucking listened to. So it's like, well, who fucking cares at that point?
Maeve was saying earlier, we're just operating on completely different levels of reality because they deny material facts. And the point is, if they were women, they wouldn't be protesting this. They are all men who are doing it. Sarah Jane Baker, who was leading this protest, was in prison for 30 years because he tortured a child. And he's demanding access to women's spaces.
Yep, true. Fuck Sarah Jane Baker, disgusting human being.
Like, Jesus Christ, how can these...
And it's not even just that. They've got up in front of crowds of trans people before to tell people to punch TERFs in the face. Again, I talk about optics. I think obsessing over optics too much is bad. But think about the optics of a male person pretending to be a woman in the most tenuous way possible, because he doesn't look like a fucking woman. He doesn't sound like a fucking woman. Getting up in front of a bunch of people, saying punch TERFs in the face, bearing in mind TERFs is largely women. What are the optics of that? You sound misogynist. You sound insane.
He tortured a child. And he's demanding access to women's spaces. Like, Jesus Christ, how can these people follow him?
So you got your top off over there. What was the reason for it?
Well, I'm a
Here he is.
woman, and
You ain't no woman, bro.
I thought I'd show the Prime Minister my boobs, and I thought I'd let the TERFs see.
You're a sexual deviant who tortured someone and encourages violence and got nicked for it. Look how thin that hair is. Mate, that's like some generational bleach damage right there. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
See that my hormones are working great, and I'd like to thank
Mate, I can't see shit here.
my Gender Critical and TERF fan club. I think you're absolutely amazing. I think you're absolutely steadfast. You're our #1 fans, and you share our message further and wider. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the problem is, because your message is so insane and because you personally are such a fucking blight on your own side, that sharing their message, sharing your message is piquing people. You personally are piquing people against trans people. And part of me thinks that you know that and you don't give a fuck.
And God bless her, except J.K. Rowling. She's not the Messiah. She isn't. Don't listen to her.
Ain't no one saying she's a messiah. Well, maybe some people. That's a bit much. I know, man. Who would I rather listen to? J.K. Rowling or Mr. Kidnapper, Torturer, Punch TERFs in the face here?
A lunatic.
I mean, you mentioned earlier about Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
Why Keir Starmer? Why the government?
I voted for Keir Starmer, and I don't want to say too much about Keir Starmer and my relationship. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, have you got a secret there?
Keir Starmer's got lots of secrets. Keir Starmer's got more secrets
You're not. What are you even saying?
than me. Keir Starmer loves trans people. I don't know why he's grifting for the right wing. I don't understand.
And what do you say to the trans people who say that trans people aren't dangerous? I mean, it could be a small minority, but they're not all dangerous.
No, they're not, but not all men are dangerous either, but we exclude all men from our female spaces because enough men, and we don't know how to tell which men are dangerous or not, and there's no evidence to suggest that men who identify as women are any less likely
point out a predator with any group of men. You can't.
To commit sexual offences. If anything, the stats that we do have suggest that they're inclined to commit them more. So we want to exclude all male people from female spaces, no matter how they identify. It's not about whether they're trans, it's because they are men.
The people I met show just how varied the trans community is. But can a society really function if we're expected to cater to everyone based on how they feel?
Our first instinct is to empathise, and it's true. If somebody's going through, I mean, a lot of these people will cite gender dysphoria as the reason for their desire to transition. Honestly, I question that in some people. I think there's often, especially in older males, something a lot more sinister at play relating to...
I'm not trying to be mean. I've noticed how these people really like having trans pins, pronouns, t-shirt on their bags. They even wear makeup with trans colours. Yeah. There's a lot of conformity. There's a lot of fashion going on. Like, again, people talk about, like, outing trans people. Most of them out themselves by covering themselves in iconography. Like, if you're wearing a they-them pin, then you are outing yourself as, like, non-binary or something like that.
But regardless, especially in younger people and especially in young women that we know who've attempted to transition, I feel for them in that gender dysphoria must be an awful thing, but I think that they're being failed by, groups like this. They're being failed by an ideology that's lying to them. They've been failed over and over again, basically medicinally, and I think it's a real shame. If you're suffering with gender dysphoria and your mental disconnect with your body is so strong and you feel so uncomfortable on a day-to-day basis, you need to get help. You don't need that to be affirmed via some semblance of transition. That will only ever be an attempt because it's impossible to change sex, and we know that.
There were kids around as you were getting your boobs out. Do you think it was appropriate to do so today?
Well, is it appropriate? I mean, that's a legal issue. If I am indeed a woman, then me getting my boobs out today is illegal, and
No, he doesn't even fucking understand the fucking law. It's not even actually illegal. It might be illegal because you were like doing it for show, like doing it to shock people. These people think because they're male, now it's legal for them to get their tits out. It's not actually illegal for a woman to do that. We looked this up. How do you not know this?
Indeed, a woman, then me getting my boobs out today is illegal, and I eagerly...
I mean, he's not actually talking about that. He's talking about you getting them out in front of children, irrespective of what sex you are.
Awaits the Metropolitan Police to come knocking on my door again. But, well, if I get arrested...
I hope they do. Not for any particular reason, I just don't like you.
That just validates everything that we're saying, that trans women are women and we're just trying to exist in this crazy world, just like everybody else.
What do you
Okay, don't arrest him. It might affirm his delusions. There we go.
say to trans people that stick on a pair of tits and wear a dress and they call themselves a woman? Is that not being a woman?
I would say that actually you can be a man and feminine. That has nothing to do with your manhood or the problem with this movement is that it reinforces quite regressive gender
Male GC. Someone's trying to get in there. That's a joke. That's a joke.
roles by saying if you are a man and you like wearing skirts, it makes you a woman. Does that mean I'm not a woman because I'm not wearing a skirt today?
We are real people. Like, these are the bodies we have. Like, to try and show that, well, we're vulnerable as well, just like, you know, any other woman is vulnerable.
Yes.
And that really, you don't see a lot of consideration from that.
I don't think this has anything to do with vulnerability. I don't think it's just showing vulnerability. You're allowed to go out and get your tits out in public. Is that vulnerability, or is that you being, like, empowered in some way?
From the government, from the papers, you know, and if what it takes is for us to stand topless outside Downing Street to say, like, look, we face the same
But that's not what it takes, because this isn't going to do shit.
risk of sexual assault, we face the similar risks that any other person does, then that's what we'll do until they listen.
Do you believe that makes a woman? You know, having a pair of boobs and dressing like a woman, does that make a woman?
I think it's one aspect of womanhood, is one aspect of being a female body.
These people call themselves feminists. You're not a feminist if you think this. You, like, literally think that gender is part of being sexed. Part of being your sex.
Person, you can't just kind of pin it down to an easy, simple soundbite. And they have, in fact, actively avoided giving a definition of biological sex.
No, it's based on what they see between your legs when you're born. Do you know what the fail rate for that is? Do you know how often they're wrong? They're wrong in about 0.05% of cases, which is not, that's still a decent amount of people, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, if, like, when it gets to those people that are more ambiguous as to what sex they are, the hope is that you can treat them case by case. And, like, they still have rights anyway, ultimately, even if they don't neatly fit into male or female.
Because they know it's really complicated. There was a letter that was signed recently.
No, it really isn't. Sex is your reproductive role. It's not complicated at all. The human body is complicated. The way the human body develops is complicated. That doesn't mean the classification is complicated.
By an enormous number of biologists who are just saying this is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, your experts versus my experts. Plenty of other biologists don't agree with you. This doesn't work.
Ridiculous. You cannot define biological sex in such a reductionist fashion because the real world reality is much more complex than that.
The reality is, yeah, I think it's a more liberal standpoint that we hold. You should be able to acknowledge biology, not pretend that you can erase it in some semblance of, transition, whatever that may mean for a given person. And then you should be able to abandon, expression stereotypes while still, accepting the fundamental reality of your sex. I think that's important. These people are regressive. It's so disappointing when you look across the board, the way that a lot of these men who consider themselves to be women, the way they choose to present is actually, it betrays the way that they obviously see women. They think to have, like, huge prosthetic breasts. They think to wear this sort of bimboified...
He is going to get so much mileage out of this footage. Like, Jesus Christ. He really knows how to find them. Listen, I have to like give him props in a way. I don't know if I think he's the most intelligent sounding guy ever. I don't know if his questions are always that great. At the same time, he knows how to find them. But then these are the people going out to these protests. These are the people making sure that trans people have the worst reputation possible.
Clothing, they think having long hair, like huge amounts of makeup. This is clear that they're sort of masquerading as women. They're putting on women face, as some people like to say. And it's really disappointing because it betrays everything that they clearly think when they think about women.
I'm wondering if I'm coming to a understanding of when it's woman face and when it isn't. Maybe the difference literally is putting on a stereotypically female appearance and then calling yourself female when you're not. You know what I mean? I think if you're just a gender non-conforming man, it's unfair to call it woman face. But if you're a gender non-conforming man, you're not pretending you're a woman and using like an appearance as a justification. I think that's maybe what I consider woman face personally.
It's really...
I've seen TikToks of trans women saying that catcalling, etc. is gender affirming. Yeah, some people do. I'm sure I've had those kind of thought processes before. But then to me, I don't know. I didn't really feel that way because if someone did catcall me, my thought was usually, I can't tell if they're being genuine or if they're taking the piss out of me because I'm trans. So I don't know.
Really disappointing, and it's very... I think there's true misogyny at its core.
Oh, what's going on? One arrest? Listen, guys, we just turned up to the police station and already seen one arrest.
I think he probably is allowed to touch you if you're reaching for his equipment. I think that probably is okay for him to do. If you like swing at someone and they push your hand aside and then you say, oh, so he's allowed to touch me, is he? Yeah, he probably is allowed to touch you in that instant. Sorry, bro. Sorry to break it to you. Also, your hair looks stupid. He's allowed to touch me, is he? He's allowed to defend himself and his property, yes. If you were to have taken his property and thrown it or whatever the fuck, or like taken it, that would have been an offense. That would have been like assault or theft or something like that.
Listen, you can't stop him filming. So you go through.
There we go, Wesley Winter. That was fun. Topless protests. I think it's a fucking psyop. I think these people are either knowingly or unknowingly making things 1,000 times worse for trans people.